Welcome to the Trading Psychology and Mindset podcast. My name is Ash Plaisted. I'm your host, as always. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm an active trader, as well as being a very curious student of human nature, of how our mind works. And I'm really curious, particularly about the relationship between what we know and how we use it. And this is fundamental to every trader breaking through to consistent profitability, which is what we all want, right? And in this podcast, I'll be talking about all the questions and all the answers and providing real, tangible, and actionable steps that you can take to train the mind you bring to trading into the mind you need for enduring trading success. In this episode, I'm going to cover movies, pop culture, trading, all of which combine into the sum of all fears. So let's get started. Now, one of my favourite movies is Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I'm sure you're all aware of Bruce Lee. There's been a lot written about him, plenty of movies. He's become a real pop culture icon, a martial arts icon. That is what Bruce Lee is known for. Yet it's this movie, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, starring his son, Brandon, that I'm referring to. And in particular, there was one really memorable scene. It might even be a series of scenes, one section of the movie in which Brandon, playing his father Bruce, must confront what he fears the most. And I think this is very representative of the trader's journey. Now, one of the things I love the most about trading is the brutal self-honesty that it demands from me. So the bottom line is, you simply cannot succeed at trading if you're not prepared to go deep inside of yourself and face, with courage, your deepest fears. And this is really the essence of this section of the movie. It's about what Bruce, played by Brandon, had been avoiding and hiding from. And in his case, it was really fear of death or danger to his son that was his darkest fear. Now, these fears almost always exist at such a deep internalized level, we struggle as human beings to identify them or even verbalize them consciously. And this, in fact, reveals one of the biggest reasons traders fail, and that is that they too often believe that trading is a pure knowledge or skill and or effort-based endeavor. Now, whilst those things certainly play an important role in the success of anyone, aspiring to trade consistently and profitably, they end up camouflaging the real reason for a trader's failure to break through. Anywhere from that first year to 3 or 4 years down the track, many traders find themselves in this situation. So under the pressure that their deepest emotional pain triggers, traders very often revert to working harder, learning more, shifting systems, finding another guru, etc., etc., etc. Now, I want to say right here, unequivocally, there is nothing inherently wrong with a good work ethic, nor is there anything wrong with the desire for more knowledge. I love learning as much as the next person. Yet at a very intuitive and primal level, for many, many traders, there resides this feeling that something is not right, something they're not getting, some secret hidden just beyond their grasp. Now, for most traders, more than 90%, unfortunately, this is exactly where it remains. So it takes a lot to deal with this, which is why I want to really, really scratch under the surface with this. The self-awareness and courage required to turn inwards and face your lifelong fears, just like Brandon did in the movie, this is a very uncommon trait amongst all people, and traders are no different. And this is why it is so important to seek out the proper guidance and or mentorship to help you push through this common success blocker. Now, this thing, the human brain, it is hardwired to keep us safe from pain. That is its primary purpose, and that is our evolutionary advantage in so many ways. Okay, let's acknowledge that. However, when it comes to trading progress, it really flips, it inverts 180 degrees to become our greatest challenge. And this is why it is so difficult for people, because it really creates cognitive dissonance, okay? How can one of our greatest advantages as a species also be our greatest challenge? This is really what perplexes so many traders, and even those that have come to that conclusion that that's what they need to fix. Actually, what you have to do to go about fixing it is a whole nother thing. So I want to give you a quick example of how this might play out in real life trading. So as a trader, you've done the work, right? You've investigated lots of different systems, you've studied, you've built or acquired from someone else a system with a profitable edge. It doesn't really matter where your system comes from, but the bottom line is it shows profitable expectancy if executed correctly over time. And you've studied hard, you understand on the surface that trading is a probability game and that nothing is ever certain, especially the market itself. And you've set up your trading rules, you've got them in place, your entry, your exit, your risk management strategy is clear. You've got all of that laid out. And then you're sitting in front of your screen. You're watching the market closely as a trading opportunity starts to reveal itself. And then, just when you're about to place your trade, bam, your emotional brain senses the possibility of emotional pain. And your emotional brain, not differentiating between real or perceived threat, which it doesn't, instantly connects this right now experience with past emotional pain and then marks it as a threat to your survival. Then in less than a heartbeat, in fact, in about 6 nanoseconds, right, a chemical process is triggered, flooding your body with pain avoidance chemicals. And how this represents itself in a trading scenario is you find yourself stepping back from the screen, stepping back from placing the trade, just in case you haven't quite got enough confirmation. Then the actual trade that you'd identified goes on to meet your profit targets, and you scratch your head afterwards wondering to yourself what the heck you were thinking. Okay, now that's just the point. You weren't thinking. Your thinking was in fact taken offline by your emotional caveman brain to keep you safe, right? This is your survival instinct in full flight. And this is exactly what must be understood and exactly what must be confronted and defeated. Now, just like Brandon's inner struggle to confront his darkest fear, which as I said, in his case was harm or threat of harm, death to his son, eventually forced him to turn towards his demons rather than avoid them, so must you turn towards your fears, right, that are deeply buried in your neurocircuitry, in your past, because until you do, that real or perceived threat that gets revealed in trading will instantly be connected back to that emotional pain and continue to trigger that chemical reaction. So it's right here that your true journey to self-mastery actually begins. This is where the great opportunity awaits. This is where you can find the path to trading success and self-mastery. So the question you might be thinking, what should I do next, Ash? Right? Now, it's an important question, right? So I hope to give you some direction as to where to go from here. As human beings, it can be very difficult to separate fact or fiction from each other when it comes to our beliefs, to what we may regard as our truth. It can take an enormous amount of vulnerability, of courage, and of determination. This is where your ego can rear up and present a real challenge, right? And your ego presents as a defense mechanism, right? But that's not what you're thinking in your mind. You're thinking, I'm right, this is what I believe. But at a deeper level, your ego is rearing up and presenting a challenge to protect you. And it will not want to accept what you have long held on to may not actually be serving your best interest anymore. Now, I want to quote my grandma, my dearly departed grandma. She had a lot of wisdom. And one of the things she used to tell me as a child was, what you can't let go of is what defines you. What this means is we tend to hang on to past experiences. We tend to replay them in our mind. They tend to get deeply hardwired into us. And when that happens, that's ultimately what defines how our life plays out. So, Grandma, you were right in your wisdom back then, and it's just as right today as it was back then. So, the very next step is to seek out independent consultation with a proven trading psychology professional. Now, I mentor and train traders in this area, as do others. My advice, what I'm saying, is to find the very best person you can trust and find a way to work with them, find a way to open up to them, and start the process of identifying what your demons are, what your fears are, and develop a process with the right support to face them and defeat them. Now, often a focused and insightful 1-hour session with the right person can be the breakthrough, the straw that breaks the camel's back that traders need to pull back the curtains on their inner blocks, their inner demons, and point them in the right direction. And this is what I hear from traders a lot, right? What is the direction I should be going to figure this stuff out amongst all of the things that I see online, all the advice about all of the hacks and tips and tricks that I should be looking to deploy? It's just a dog's breakfast. This is the right direction. This is the path. And that advice, getting put on the right path by the right person, is priceless in of itself. And of course, this is where the real work begins, right? This is where you need to focus your attention. So I'll ask you, traders, are you prepared to be the change that you want to see in your life and your trading? To do the work to change yourself from the inside out? Now, it's very important that I am completely honest with you here, okay? It's not easy. If it was easy and obvious and simple, everyone would already be doing it, and you wouldn't have a fail rate in trading of above 95%, or certainly above 90%. There's a reason so many traders fail. It's right here. It's not lack of knowledge, lack of system, lack of effort, lack of input. It's lack of appetite to go down this path to fix what's holding them back, face their fears from the inside out. It'll take a lot of work. But if you truly want to live the life of your dreams and to have trading for a living at the center of that life, then do the work you must. Take the next step. Reach out. Have that conversation with the right person. Learn how to face and defeat your darkest fears, and your future will thank you. So, I want to thank you, whether you're a beginner trader, an experienced trader, a proprietary trader. If you're in the trading game at any level, thank you for joining me on this episode. I truly hope you found in equal measure insight, learning, and actionable advice you can take into your own life and your own trading. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the next episode of the Trading Psychology and Mindset Podcast.